So yeah, I have a terminal medical condition, 28, which I won't go into too much detail about. I didn't have the best health insurance/doctors, so I found out I had a big problem pretty much when it was too late. About the only thing I had of value other than some meager savings, an even smaller 401 in my car, was a life insurance policy I got years ago when I was 18. It was a relatively small amount yearly and awesome terms, so why not? I always thought I could swap it over to a future wife/kids, but not happening now. So I haven't been able to work now for about 2 months, but I won't be eligible for hospice care until probably a few weeks before the end. The actual policy itself was for an eye-watering amount if I died before a certain age, which unfortunately is what is going to happen. I have been living at home with my parents rent-free since I stopped working, which is good of them. We haven't had the best relationship growing up, and they pretty much only did the minimum required by law in terms of how they raised me. No complaints, but not parents of the year material. A lot of this was due to finances. I have been putting money towards food and utilities, but not the rent they are paying, as that was a cost they were covering by themselves, and my being here hasn't increased it. Anyway, I have been investigating cash outs, both through the company and investor groups that will give you a bit more in exchange for being named as beneficiary. I will probably stick with the company offer to get things moving faster. There are going to be some taxation issues, but the end result will be that my parents will essentially get an amount that will cover my funeral and possibly a really good second-hand car. I estimate that the amount I will get will be enough for me to rent a nice condo near the beach, nice meals, maid service, some great experiences while I am well enough, and some in-home care nursing towards the end. My parents have basically said that the life insurance policy named to them will set them up for life and allow them to buy a house and invest, etc., and probably even retire early. They are in their 50s and were probably going to have to work until they dropped. They are telling me that they have made a lot of sacrifices to have me move into their house until I go to hospice, but I really don't see what that is other than the inconvenience of 3 adults in a 2-bedroom house. One of them was going to give up work towards the end to provide some home care until I qualified for hospice, but my cashing out will mean they can keep working. I get that it would be the noble thing to help my parents out, but I don't want to. Edit. A few people have asked about the cash out versus beneficiary payment. 6 figures cash out, 7 figures if it goes to beneficiaries. It's a crazy good policy, but only because I am dying at the age I am and from the condition I have. It's like winning the worst lottery ever. Final edit. I'm tired and I'm going to have a nap. Thanks to all the MSGs of support and clarification on hospice entitlements and fin advice. To put concerns to rest, when I said I won't be eligible for hospice for a few weeks before the end, I worded it badly. As much as is in my power, the only time I will go into hospice proper is my last few weeks. I am young and strong and I plan to spend as much time by the sea until I can't. Let's see if life screws that up for me too, lol. I will be meeting up with a social worker soon and making sure I claim everything I can. I love my parents despite the past and my family, and I know this is putting a terrible strain on all of us, and I hope they will forgive me and keep the best memories on top. That's all, everyone. Take care. Let them disown you. If they would do that to a terminally ill person, they don't deserve to reap the benefits of your passing. You have time left, spend it exactly how you want. Make your impression out in this world rather than being restricted by people who can't look past the money and see their kid. As grim as it is, this is your last hurrah. You fight and do what you want. No one else should have a say, blood or not. Do what you feel is right. It's really sad they're more upset about the money and not your comfort or passing. If my son was passing away at only 28, he could stay with me for free and I'd want him to enjoy as much of his last days as possible. I know you probably don't want more apologies or sympathy, but I am so sorry for the hands you have been dealt. Not the idiot parents shouldn't ever be depending on their children to save them from their financial problems. Especially if the situation is dependent on your life insurance policy. That's pretty messed up. You deserve to live your last days however you want, and they're not having to pay for that, so really they have no say. I hope you're able to make some great memories with the time you have. I, 29, and my husband, 32, are currently saving for our first house. We have 3 kids, 5, 3, 1, and I want at least a 3-bedroom, 1 for us, 2 to share amongst the 3 kids, and 2-bathroom. My husband recently informed me that my MIL is considering divorcing my FIL. My husband wants to change our house plan to include my MIL moving in with us. We talked about what that would mean, and ultimately I decided I really don't want to do that, and it's caused a problem in our marriage. The reason why I decided against it is mainly because my MIL would be taking full custody of her 10-year-old daughter, husband's half-sister, and we would also have to take MIL's mom, husband's grandmother. MIL is fine, but her daughter causes so much trouble and chaos. Many of husband's aunts and cousins never visit anymore and told me it's because of the problems this girl causes with the other kids in the family her age, and I don't like her being around my children as well. GMIL is also elderly and needs full-time care, which I can't provide since I work and have 3 kids to take care of. I told my husband if this is what he wants, he can contribute more towards our savings and we can get a property with a back house for Mill, her daughter, and GMIL. Husband doesn't want to contribute more money and instead suggested we keep our original plan but keep 1 room for us and the kids, 1 room for GMIL, and 1 room for MIL and her daughter. I said absolutely not, because the whole purpose of getting our own home was to have our own room and our kids have their own room. We went back and forth, but my suggestions don't work for him and his suggestions don't work for me. In the end, I suggested MIL and GMIL move in with someone else, and my husband is upset that I suggested this. Mill's sister has a huge 5-bedroom home in a nice area 10 minutes away and only lives with her husband and adult son. My husband also has a younger brother, MIL's favorite child, who currently has a big 3-bedroom home with 2 living rooms and only lives with his wife and 1 daughter, F5. Bill also has more money saved up than we do and wants to upgrade to an even bigger home. I think these are both better options for MIL and GMIL than my husband and I can possibly provide, but my husband hasn't been speaking to me lately because of this. Am I the idiot for not wanting to compromise our plan for our first home in order to accommodate family? Side note, MIL has never had a job and doesn't plan on getting one, so we wouldn't be charging rent for anyone and would also have to pay for everyone's living expenses. Living situation would also be permanent since MIL doesn't make money and therefore can eventually move out. Husband and I also make the least amount of money in the family at a combined income of $50–60K per year. 4 adults, 4 kids, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, $50–60K total income? That math is not mathing. This is a recipe for disaster, just conflict and not enough of anything to go round written all over it. I think all of your suggestions are sensible. Piling 8 people into a 3-bedroom and providing for them on your 2 combined earnings is not the idiot. Not the idiot. It is not your job to take care of your husband's family, especially when you have your own. Your family should have and get priority over anything. He can pay for a separate places for them if has so much extra money. If not, he can pay for separate places for himself to live with them but himself. You and your kids need room you grow. Nothing good will come of this as you allow them to live with you. Do not give in on this. Not the idiot. This is the hill that marriages die on. You can't afford to house 3 more people and with 2 other siblings who can. Your husband is being stubbornly foolish. While I think MIL might get child support and alimony, which she can use to pay rent/expenses, it's still too much of an ask, especially when you need space for your family. Added to that, GMIL needs care and that SIL has behavioral issues. Well, your family comes first and DH needs to respect your decision. My 16 parents are divorced. They got together in 2004, married in 2006 a couple months before I was born, and split up in late 2012. The divorce was finalized in early 2013. My parents' split really affected me. I got homesick, upset and anxious when I was away from one parent, and it was the same when I was with the other. I cried all the time, was very withdrawn and sensitive, and thought I was the reason they split. It got tense for a while when my parents got new partners, but I eventually got used to it. If it's relevant, my dad married my stepmom in 2016 and has 2 kids with her. My mom has been dating my stepdad since 2016. I never knew why they divorced. I was around 6 when everything happened and they could only explain it to me in a child-friendly way. Sometimes mommies and daddies grow apart, they still love each other, everything happens for a reason, and I did question them as to why it was happening but never got the truth until a week ago. It came out that my dad had been unfaithful to my mom. Him and this girl, who apparently was around 18–19, were together for 10 months before my mom found out via photos that the girl's mom posted on Facebook of them together. Expected drama ensued, and during the divorce process, my dad got engaged to the girl. He tried to introduce her to me, he told me that she was my new mommy, but I was cold towards her. I had to see her more after that and just never warmed up to her. They broke it off in 2014 for some reason and that was that. I couldn't help but snap at him after finding out. I blew up at him. I yelled and told him that he had broken up our family for a girl he barely knew. He completely destroyed my mom and her trust, that he had the audacity to introduce us and tell me that she was my new mom. That he saw how much it affected me, that his 6-year-old wouldn't eat or talk because it had given me crippling anxiety and I blamed myself, that he was too much of a coward to ever tell me about it. He argued back that it was none of my business and my uncle, who let this whole thing slip, defended me and said he thought I knew, which is why he said it, and I had every right to be upset. I ended up storming out and stayed the night at a friend's. I gave him the story and he said that he understood I was upset, but it wasn't my place to yell at him. I'm confused with everything I feel too. I was young when they split, I wouldn't have expected them to tell me at that age, but when I was older. Part of me doesn't feel like it's my place to be upset, another part of me thinks I have every right to be upset at both him and my mom, since she never told me anything either. All in all, am I the idiot for yelling at my dad after finding out why my parents divorced? Not the idiot at all. Let me start by saying I hurt my own family by being unfaithful. Those choices I made may eventually come out later to my son, and if he's mad at me, I'll have to own my mistakes once again to a new person capable of understanding. It sounds to me like your dad feels crappy and doesn't want to relive the shame again. Still, you have a right to your feelings. Dad needs to own his crap, now and forevermore. We all need to. Not the idiot. His decision affected you all. You've been blaming yourself for the past 10 years, internalizing things, developing anxiety, along with a host of other things that come with divorced parents, bouncing between households. Holidays are stressful because the family is divided, so you have to spend it half with this one and half with that one, and new partners coming in or out of their life. The truth was bound to come out eventually, and I'm sure he imagined one day you might find out and how to address it with you. He just wasn't prepared. Hopefully, you can both discuss this when things calm down and move forward when you're ready. Some people are just lousy people. Now you know what kind of person your dad is, one that refuses to accept accountability when he messes up. That said, don't be upset at your mom. She could have gotten into trouble with the courts if she told you parental alienation. Make your mom and you a cup of hot cocoa, and give her a hug. Also talk to your mom about the crap your dad did. Demand you call his affair partner your new mommy. Your mom loves you, your uncle and other relatives love you. Go with that. I, 24, and my wife, 22, have been having insane issues with my SIL since my wife found out she was pregnant. For the sake of privacy, we'll call her Sylvia. When we first announced the pregnancy, we were at a family dinner. Everyone was there for a regular get-together. 10 minutes later, Sylvia is going up to everyone and making them bet on what day she'll test pregnant. This was our special moment, for our first and only child, and she is even making people uncomfortable to put herself in the spotlight. She then goes on to tell me she's going to teach our child all the things we don't want him to be taught. When we can test, yes I am, and there's nothing you can do about it. Regardless, we try to get past it and just grit our teeth, bear it, and go home. Now, even though she is our sister-in-law, she wasn't too close to us as she kept to herself most of the time. Turns out she's specifically avoiding me, saying she doesn't feel comfortable around me because I'm a bigger man. Now I could somewhat understand this, but that clearly isn't true because she has no problems with the other men in our family who are much bigger and burlier than I am. A month or two go by, I'm throwing a graduation party for my wife, who just finished getting their BAc degree. Well, Sylvia and her partner, let's just call him Bill, show up and immediately start making a complete fool of themselves. Complaining that my wife didn't deserve this party, that he didn't get one when he left the military, etc. He even ends up taking the first plate of food that was supposed to go to my wife for her day. My cousin steps up and tells them I'm the one that planned this, and they end up leaving quietly and early, not even speaking to us. Fast forward a bit and we find out that for months, Sylvia has been talking mad crap about us as a couple, and specifically me. Calling me specifically a creep, saying she needs to drink to be around us, calling me a pig, and claiming we stole her baby name because we decided to name our child after my FIL, which we discussed long before we even knew her. When they speak to us next, they act as if nothing happens. We're all bowling at a family gathering, And Sylvia decides to pull my wife to the side and apologize for overreacting, but never apologizes to me for the things that she specifically said and did towards me, such as excluding me, trying to have private conversations with my wife about the situation that involved all of us, and trying to badmouth me for no reason. When asked why she thinks I'm creepy, she didn't even give a reason, just said that's the vibe. I've told Sylvia that she cannot have a relationship with our son if she cannot respect and acknowledge both parents. She threw a huge fit and called everyone, who were all texting, calling, AMD saying we should let everything be water under the bridge. I feel as though I deserve human respect/decency. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Sylvia is clearly jealous of your life with your wife, and her way of dealing with that is acting out like a child and trying to convince people your life isn't as good as it seems. If she can't be respectful towards you, your wife, and your relationship, then there is no need to have her around your child. Out of curiosity, what is your wife's stance on things? Is she on your side, defending you? Not the idiot. Being a parent, and for that matter, being a child, is hard enough without having people around who have shown, and outright declared, that they will undermine that relationship. Be careful of people in that family trying to facilitate access to your child behind your back, and pulling similar crap. Coming from the sibling of an alienated child, protect yourself and your family. Not the idiot. You hit the nail on the head. If she cannot have a decent relationship with the parents, there is no way she should have any sort of relationship with the child. You and your wife need to talk and discuss such, and start making plans. One of the things you and she may want to talk about is going LC when it comes to the due date of the child and visitation after the child is present, who is allowed to visit or not to visit. You and her may want to think about how involved she is going to be in, including how often she will be allowed to be around the child. She sounds like bad news and sending up way too many red flags that you do not want to ignore.